Okay, I'm gonna do this one this way, I think. Okay, this is the tractor system. Good job, Bailey. Keep your ball. This is something I can use a lot in the orchards. It's got wheels at the back, so it's like a wheelbarrow. Just leveraging your weight. It holds easily 6 birds, sort of depending on the size of the bird, and it can hold more than that. I like to have probably, ideally you have around 4 square feet for each chicken. That's meets every animal welfare sort of standard. So these are basically 4x8. Almost everything I try to do in standard lengths of lumber for reasons I'm sure you understand. I've made a lot of iterations of this. This one's probably my favorite. It's not perfect, but a couple of things to think about. Same on the hoop house, almost all standard lumber cuts. You want your nesting boxes to be low. In the beginning, I made them about roost height, and then what do? They roost in them, which means you get a lot of poop in your egg houses, and you don't really want that. Also, for meat chickens, if you're really gonna, if you're gonna get to the point where you're trying to present them to people, you don't really want a lot of roosts in the beginning, because what that does is mess up the keel. So your keel gets a little bit deformed on your chicken. It doesn't present as well on a platter. And so I try to just leave them space to lay on the ground, which isn't great all the time, but a heavy bird roosting on its keel is going to get a deformed keel. So there may be ways to mitigate that depending on the roost you use, but that's just something to think about. Okay, so basically, I like this one a lot in that it is more like 1x3s. It's not, or 2x3s, 1.5x3, whatever. So it's not a true 2x4, and that lightens it up a lot, which is helpful when you're moving them on uneven terrain. They're 8 foot again by 4 feet, and I think they're about 31 inches high. What's nice is when I use these, the siding, I can get about 3 cuts out of an 8 foot piece, depending on how high I make my tractors. And that allows me to make this roosting box on one end to protect them from the elements and anything else. You can do these in half. If you see that one out there, you can see it's got a half cover. I preferred the full cover, especially with our heat. Again, something I started doing more. That's a little heavier, but that's also better for predators. And then here I frame it with 2x2s. And I use a little bit of the corrugated, the wood that they use for this corrugated sheeting. You can see it there to kind of provide the lateral support. So the basic bottom structure and the corner supports are all those 2x3s, and then the roosts are 2x2s. And then I just used like this, I don't know what it is, 1/2x3 or something across the top here to frame the top in and add stability. And then I just bring the 2x2s up just high enough so that this lid can rest down inside. Now you'll see that I have a little bit of a gap here on the end. That's just the way it ends up working out usually. I think that's okay. A little more overhang in the back is probably not bad if you have a lot of rain. But this is, again, I kind of build these as I go. The front end here is in a chicken netting, and there's a chicken wire on the door that I made. What I like to do now, let me see if I can show you more. I like to use this fencing, galvanized fencing. I think it's like 2x3 or 2x4. You can buy it at any Lowe's. It rolls out and cuts with wire cutters or with sheet metal cutters. And so what I do then is I put another like 1/2x3 over it and screw it into place. So you'll see like these are double layers here, so that wire's inside there, and then when I screw through it, that is going to keep just about anything out. And so I try to do that on the top and on the bottom to hold it into place. That's my favorite. That's why this one's good, but not quite perfect, because this chicken wire that I have on here, you can see I've done the same thing. I've got a couple of layers here on top, and I've just sandwiched that wire in between it. But honestly, a strong coyote, or I don't know what you guys have up in the mountains there, That'll slow them down, but that won't stop them. And that that 2x3, 2x4 wire fence, it'll stop just about anything. And then obviously these panels, nothing's gonna get through there. You can see sort of about how high I put them. Again, predators tend to just figure out the path of least resistance, so they'll try the sides and then they'll try digging, and there's not a lot you can do about digging, but hopefully they'll get bored. Maybe what you need to look into is a livestock guardian dog, which would be awesome in your setting. This little gap, these little air gaps are actually really important, and one of the reasons is finally predators have figured out that they can't go through, so they're trying to go in the top. And so what I've started purchasing recently are these 4-foot adjustable bungee cords. You can actually pull this piece up and out, and then it wedges in at any length. So I can wrap these around now and attach them here. I don't know why it took me 10 years to figure this out, but it does two things. It keeps the coyotes from being able to get underneath, or the possums or the foxes. But when it gets really windy around here, this thing can be a sail. The longer lids like this actually are heavier and don't fly off as much as those smaller ones did, but that bungee solves all the problems. So having this little gap here so you can hook it, sorry, I'm not great at this, around a 1x3, you know, it can actually hook underneath there. Brilliant. That's accidental. And then here what I did is I took some, I don't know, again, those are like 1/2x6s in the corner, so I have a place to set my waterers. One of the biggest challenges in raising these things outdoors is keeping a constant supply of water. It's a challenge I haven't solved, because just about every portable waterer requires it to be level. And so that's the best thing I could come up with. It keeps it off the ground where the chickens will fill it with dirt. And so it lasts a couple days, maybe 3, whereas when I was putting them on the ground, I had to pour them out just about every day. But this is the tractor. I'm sure you're gonna have lots of questions. I'm sure you're going to make one better than I did. Then I'll ask you about it. But oops, see, I've got my thing in there. But this is just the wheel on the inside. I screwed through that hole. One of the things I will tell you is, and I found over time, if these things are too heavy, especially on these 1x3s, that weight starts to push that wheel out. And so you want to definitely add a lot of support on the inside to this connection, sorry, 2x3s, to keep that from happening, because you don't want to have to unbuild it. You don't have to demo it and build it all over, but you know, these things will last 3, 5, 6 years easily. The nice thing about this siding is I used to do plywood and then use like a water sealant on it, but with this siding, that's a whole nother step that you don't have to worry about, and it lasts longer, so that it's worth the extra money. All right, Charlie, that's what I got for you right now. Let me know what questions you have. I thought this would be the best way to get you started.